Lately, there's been a slew of Castlevania fan games, as well as tributes to the franchise we all know and love. Today we're looking at one of the aforementioned fan-based remakes, spotlighting Castlevania Revamped. I first heard about it from fellow Castlevania enthusiast, the Mad Belmont, so go check out his channel for more Castlevania love. Anyways, Revamped is answering the question, what would Castlevania on NES be like if it was non-linear? I'm going to be talking about the good and bad of this recent fan release, which comes to us from a creator called Level 4 Games. It's a free game that anyone can download, and links are down below for the Windows and Linux releases in the description if you want to give it a shot. Revamped does a solid job of reinterpreting the graphics from the original Castlevania while expanding on it to create a proper non-linear experience. Though I will say the intro pose at the gates of the castle felt a little lackluster compared to other games in the series. But it was still cool to see this moment come to life in a classic NES setting. The size of the rooms are pretty appropriate to what we're used to seeing in the Koji Igarashi directed Castlevania games. However, I will say that while the tile sets for the floor and the ceiling look great, the backgrounds feel like they needed more color differentiation. Shades of purple kind of blend into one another, and the textures don't really grab me. Later on in the caves, the patterns in the backgrounds feel like they were copy-pasted and don't exactly provide the depth we're used to seeing in a Castlevania 2D game. A lot of it just kind of feels like it was put there to fill empty space instead of actually painting a picture. I mean, here, take a look at the original Castlevania backgrounds here. Everything feels like it fits and is supposed to be there. Now, granted, we have to understand that the resolution on the older games allowed for much greater detail within a much smaller working space, so it's a bit forgivable. Sprite-wise, Simon looks great, but the enemies are hit or miss. The mermen and bats look like their NES counterparts, but the big bat boss looks a little bit less defined. Simon's control is a bit too responsive. He's kind of fast and slippery. I didn't really feel fully in control because of how quick he moves, so if your mind is used to the slower Belmont brawler walk and whip movements, you'll need to retrain how you approach this game. I almost feel like it was designed to be a much quicker paced game to allow speedrunners to get through it quickly, but I could be wrong about that. Now, unlike Koji Igarashi's style of games which adds RPG elements, this release truly does aim to feel more like Metroid, as it does away with them in favor of gaining upgrades to improve Simon's actions. Various elements here are a breath of fresh air, such as the 8-way whip upgrade that allows access to new areas. I'd still say this lines up with the search action style of Iga's games, but the refocus on abilities being gained really makes you want to keep playing to build Simon's strength. It's honestly the strongest argument to this style succeeding with a release like this, and it makes me wonder why Konami hasn't released a Classicvania style game that features upgrades. Pretty neat overall. Listening to the music within this game, I wondered what exactly was done to make it sound near identical, yet still different from the original release. It almost sounds like parts of the song were piped through a VRC6 chip, and the drums have some added flourishes that I noticed. There's also a bit of reverb on these tracks, which I'm not a big fan of, but I love that the sound selection takes from all different releases of the first game over the years. 8-bit Thrasher in the Cave from Sharp X68000, sign me the hell up. So in conclusion, should you play this release? I think it's well worth checking out. If the controls were tightened up a bit and the combat was adjusted to reflect the older style of gameplay, I think I'd personally enjoy it more, as the slippery fast movement was not my cup of tea. Hope you enjoyed this look at Castlevania Revamped. Stay tuned for more Castlevania related content from the channel.